Howdy ho, good neighbors. Today I'm going to talk about me. Like, me, personally. I don't really think I'll be doing it terribly often, but figure why not. So, here's me. I'm Nate, and I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I was then subsequently moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where I've pretty much lived ever since. Um, The NK9 moniker comes from my friend Vale, Walter Padilla, and he thought that well, all right, let me back up. At the time, I thought that I could live out a dream of being like a top, club spinner, DJ. As you can see, I still have all that shit. But anyway, my previous stage name that I'd wanted to use was DJ Doozer with no E. There's a joke behind that. I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, big fan of Fraggle Rock. Back when I was a kid, loved the Doozers. Really felt they got a bad rap, and so I called myself that. And Vale thought that was the lamest, softest fucking name that he could possibly imagine for somebody who was going to be spinning break beats and jungle and drum and bass. So he decided, because I've been called Nate Dogg for decades, actually really, really long time, even before the famous singer Nate Dogg, because when I was younger, I really, really got into Diogenes, and so that kind of started to stick. It was actually Nate the Dog first, and then shortened because people are lazy. So anyway, he took the Nate Dogg moniker and K9. He thought that was much more dope and futuristic for me, and we lost Vale in 2007, and I decided that was going to be my jam. So I have been going by the online handle of NK9 ever since then. So that's just a little bit about how that happened. But anyway, I came towards my philosophy and my penchant for disobeying authority very early. When I was in kindergarten, my parents had me in this small like daycare kind of place that also had a private kindergarten as a part of it for the kids that were of an appropriate age. And Miss Kari, my teacher, did not want to hold anybody back. And I was an avid reader already, and I got through all the kindergartner primer stuff very quickly. And she said, well, if you're bored, I can find more stuff for you to do. So she started to buy workbooks and activities for first graders. And when I finished up all those, she started buying them for the second graders. And then I went to public school, and I got enrolled in first grade. There was no kind of testing out. They just tested me and said, okay, well, you'll be in the advanced reading group and you'll be in the advanced math group, but you're in first grade. And so I was in first grade, and they gave me not just the same type of stuff, but literally the same things that I had already completed the previous year. And they didn't care. I had to do them over again. Even if I brought them my completed work, because I saved all of it, that was not good enough. So I stopped doing it because I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't being challenged at all. I was just being told to do the same garbage I'd already done, and I thought school was for learning. So I continued to read, do things, to my own pleasure, and got in a lot of trouble at school. And that pretty much continued all the way on through high school. We were doing a production of Little Shop of Horrors, just one example. And for weeks there was no talk of the content or anything being wrong with it. And right before we went to actually open the show, all the administration, bunch of different teachers, they came in and sat in on one of our dress rehearsals, and they all loved it. They were all very, very happy, thought it was great, and had a laugh. But the next day, a concerned parent came and complained about the language. I mean, it's Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, they asked us to come in and change a few of the key lines and kind of rework some things to tone down the language. And one of the cast, one of the principal cast, as I remember it, was very guilty about offending anybody, and he wanted to change and didn't feel bad about that. The rest of us actually had to convince him not to say, these people are, that's their own issue. They know what the content is. It's a high school production. If you realistically think that your child at a public school hasn't heard 1,000 times worse than the language that's in Little Shop of Horrors by the time they're a freshman in high school, you're hopefully not allowed to do anything more complex than tie your own shoes at this point, because you're just not being realistic. Anyway, so all that being said, we said no. We went ahead with it. At the end of the year, the musical director was asked not to stay, and a new guy was brought in who was very willing to toe the line. And he wanted to, right out of the gate, change a bunch of the things that we had started to develop as traditions in a young high school. And, I felt that was inappropriate. And, maybe I had not as much school spirit, but more of a defiant mindset. But I fought the guy on everything that I could. And I also, pointed out a lot of different hypocrisy. There was a show that I missed a dress rehearsal for that I got kicked out of. But one of his favorite students had missed a dress rehearsal literally the night before, and no consequences whatsoever. So I never really got a good answer as to why I was different, even seeing that I had a smaller part. I mean, easier to, kick me out and replace me, but things seems a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, bygones. So, all through high school, I was, not breaking the rules, but pushing boundaries that seemed inappropriate. That all came to a head in my senior year. We were doing a thing for one of the choirs, and it required us to get everybody's permission, all of our different teachers through the different periods that we would be missing to do this thing. And I got everybody's permission, so I was scheduled throughout the entire day. And then at the last minute, my English teacher decided that I had no longer had permission to do the thing. And so I told her to stuff it, basically, and that I would come by as I had agreed previously and make up the classwork. But she decided that that wasn't good enough, so she said I was skipping class and marked me as truant. And then over the next couple of weeks, that escalated. They kept telling me that I needed to be punished. So they gave me a detention, and I ignored it. And they gave me 2 detentions, and I ignored them. And they gave me 3 detentions. I continued to ignore them. And they gave me a Saturday detention, and I ignored it. Then they pulled me into the assistant principal's office, who, on a personal note, was a colossal jackass, insisted on being called doctor. She did not have the requisite intelligence for me to call somebody doctor, no matter what the discipline. She was a gigantic moron. Basically, she just paid the money and put in the time and got a PhD in education. Anyway, pulls me in, tells me that I've done something wrong. And I got real pissed about that. And I ended up calling in my father onto the whole situation. We had a meeting with both of the teachers and with the... hold on a moment. Sorry about that. Had to mess with a telemarketer really quick. So anyway, going back to that. So we sat down. All the teachers that were associated with it, my father, the assistant principal, and myself. And he sat down. Started with the choir teacher, said, what was agreed upon, what were the rules, what did Nathan have to do? And he told him, okay, Nathan, did you do all this? Yes. Teacher, did you do all this? Yes. Other teacher, did you do all this? Yes. Okay. So then, at the end, on the last possible second, on the day, at the time of the actual event, this English teacher, you decided that agreement was null and void, and he needed to stop what he was doing, stop the things that he'd agreed to do during that period with your prior agreement, and then stop that, piss off these other people, break an agreement that he had with them because you chose to break an agreement with him. Okay? Yes. Okay. Assistant principal. Did you actually talk to any of the principals involved in the situation and come to this conclusion? Or did she just say he skipped class? Well, she just said he skipped class. Okay. And you didn't listen to him when he told you the whole situation, and you didn't ask him anything about it? No. So then, at the end of all that, this teacher didn't stand up for his student. This teacher is a bully, and the assistant principal is incompetent. So, we've established all this. We're good to go, right? Okay, good. And I went about my day. So, I fight with people who do stupid things and make bad rules. I fight stupid rules. I disobey stupid rules or bend them. But that's my character. That is what informs my desire to always look a little bit deeper. I'd also like to credit Mrs. Roberta Smith, who was my history teacher in high school. One of them. The other one was not very good, but Mrs. Smith was amazing. She actually talked to us about what went on behind the events of history. I don't remember the exact event she was telling us about, but I said, hey, if the generals were in charge, they wouldn't have done this. And she said, exactly. And I said, well, why weren't the generals in charge, and why didn't they make a good decision? And she said, well, let's look into that. So we started talking about, military decisions being overridden by politicians and different things that could be happening on the home front with the media, with, popular opinion being swayed one way or the other, and why a decision that would save lives in a theater of war would be overridden by people who were more concerned with appearances. And that really put me on the path to being anti-war, and then taking everything a lot further through libertarianism, through all of that, into outright anarchist thought. And my belief now, considered, I think, that coercion is wrong, that government is the ultimate form of coercion, and that it needs to be abolished in its present form. That's why I think that choice is what it's all about. If you have polyarchy, if you choose your own political unit from a variety of options on the open market, I think we'll come up with the best solutions. And that'll also make all of us have to genuinely work with each other and learn how not to step on each other's rights, and actually start learning how not to oppress each other. So there we are. We'll see you next time.